This is Cold Harbor on Legendary difficulty. I did spend some reputation, and I'm showing you that the army is made up of units of about 1,800, First Corps, and a lot of artillery, a lot of 20-pound Parrots and 24-pound howitzers. And I built out 5 corps. So what you're going to see is my goal is to drag this battle out as long as possible. At a certain point, the enemy gets huge reinforcements, and I think it's 70,000 men total that come into this battle. And here's Second Corps. And Second Corps, what I did was some of the units had 2 stars. My Second Corps is a little smaller, so I moved some of the undersized 2-star units to Second and Third Corps. 1750, I went with, it just worked out where I didn't have to buy veterans. Still good artillery. And yeah, filled out my 1-star units and got them Third Corps, 1,500 down to 1,200 for the lower corps. And I intend for First Corps to not have to fight this battle. They have to fight the first phase, but there are a whole bunch of phases. I want Second, Third, Fourth, and Fifth Corps to do the fighting. It turns out the last 2 last 2 divisions of Fifth Corps never show up, which is unfortunate because I wanted them to. So my goal is to get all these corps, like the guys you're seeing right now, to get them to fight. And I actually have some green units of 1650 with Texas, Tyler, Texas, and I want them to fight. I try to drag the battle out as long as possible. No one's ever figured out what actually ends this battle. You can look it up. No one's figured it out. And unfortunately, I trip a flag or something and end the battle. And my units don't get to fight as much as I want. But I do get probably 10,000 more kills than I normally do. Normally, you get about 20,000 kills in this battle, and maybe 20,000 in Fort Stevens, which is the follow-on battle. I get way more than that. But if I hadn't, my goal is to not trip the flag and drag this out through the 3rd day, particularly to get experience. I have like 500 guns, 500 cannon, and you can see I have a big inventory of everything. But I'm trying to bring 500 cannon into this battle to get everybody experience, because this is the last chance to get everybody experience before Richmond. So unfortunately, what I've done is I've driven up the size of my army, so this is going to kill me in Harrison's and Georgia Railroad, because it's really going to drive up scaling, because this army does not take any hits as I thought it would. I had intended that my 500 guns would blast at his 200 guns and his infantry for hours and hours. And it would just be kind of an artillery duel, which I would win, but I wouldn't be able to advance until the end of the 3rd day. But unfortunately, I went after his artillery and end the battle. So here we go. For this battle, it's 90,000 versus 80,000. I have 500 guns. But the bottom thing is the thing. Between this battle and Fort Stevens, I end up killing 70,000 of the enemy. And that's huge. I wanted to get 90,000. I wanted to get 20,000 more, to be frank, because I wanted to get 50,000 kills in this battle, but the battle times out on me. But I still think 70,000 is a good number of kills. I end up losing 3,500, and at Fort Stevens 4,200, mostly Allied troops, I think. But the casualties, to get 32,000 kills in this battle is pretty good. But I had the enemy on the ropes at the end of this thing, and I was just beating up on him. I mean, really, at the end of this battle, I felt like I was just beating up on a defenseless opponent, even though the enemy had a large army at that point. It's just like beating. I mean, it was just like defenseless. Anything I wanted to do, any place I wanted to take, I was going to take. And that, I think that's a function of having 500 guns. So he goes up in all 3 categories: training, army size, training, and armory at the end of Fort Stevens. I think that's just a mechanic. But I think if I'd killed another 10,000, maybe he wouldn't have gone up so much in manpower. But still, his numbers are low, 53 to 58. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 battles. I forget. I suspect he's going to go up. in all three areas again. No matter what I do in the next two battles, he's going to go up in manpower, training, and armory. I really don't care. It's Richmond. So he comes into the battle, he has about 1,700, and this, well, here's what happens. There are a whole bunch of phases to this battle. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and several camp phases. And what I decide I'm going to do is I'm going to replace my losses to my army, to First Corps, so that First Corps goes to, my infantry losses will be replaced, so that First Corps goes to Fort Stevens at full strength. And then in the following phases, First Corps can mostly sit out and let Second, Third, Fourth, and Fifth Corps do all the fighting. So that's my goal. So I do replace my infantry losses from this phase. They're not too bad. They're not too. I don't think they're too high. I don't think the enemy has a chance here. I bring in all infantry because all you have to do is hold these for the allotted time. I think the infantry is more useful. I don't think there's ever a moment that he has a chance of breaking through here. If you bring 1-star units, he might break your units and pop through your lines and take the flag from you, and something bad might happen. And the other thing you want to make sure is that he doesn't rout behind your lines at any time. Detached skirmishers are perfect for that. Here he has 2 units in melee against my unit. That's always dangerous anytime he gets you in melee 2-to-1 because there's a huge buff. But his first unit routes right away, and then his second unit routes right behind it. And, there's never really... He has really good weapons. He has Fayettevilles here, and 10-pound Parrots and 24-pound howitzers. So he... And all 3 stars, 100% efficiency with perks. So his units hit hard, but my army is able, I think, to hold pretty easily. So I never really feel in this phase that there's any real chance of his army succeeding. So yeah, I like having the infantry unit in reserve, but eventually I put him on the front line so he can get some kills. And that's pretty much, what happens. I think I have a unit in, yeah, Fort Stevens gets a unit in a fortification. One of my units gets, I think it's over 4,500 kills. I mean, we're now on the point where the fortifications are good. Bad news is the enemy gets most of the fortifications. So what happens is there are 2 areas. This is I'm pretty sure, doing this from memory. This is the north section of the fighting. Then there's the south section, which Second Corps does. And then, so what it does, it goes north section, south section, north section, south section, many, many times. I'd be surprised if anybody actually made this through all of day 3, because here's what I thought. I thought, in this north section, if you take the 2 north flags, the battle's over. That's what seems to happen. I wasn't sure if you could take flags in the south section, which is the Second Corps section. I hope I have that right. The Second Corps is I've placed in the south. So in the north is 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Corps, and in the south is Second Corps. So I'm thinking, going into this, that as long as you don't take the top 2 flags, the north 2 flags in the north section, the battle should go on for 3 days. I am not correct in this. Because I end up going after his artillery, I end up taking 1 flag in the south on this map on day 3, and 2 flags, because I'm going after his artillery, I end up taking 2 flags on the other map. And I don't think taking 2 flags on the south map is going to end the battle. Yeah, here he is charging into melee, and that's a big loser. He doesn't even make it into melee, he takes fire, and yeah, he just gets crushed. So yeah, I never really feel like this has much of a chance of winning. And right about now, it's just, yeah, we're just going to stand and shoot at each other, and I'm going to win that. Or it's going to go on for 25 minutes here, the reinforcements. I've never had the reinforcements actually do anything. Seems pretty much a waste of time, but That's the way Cold Harbor is set up. It gives you reinforcements that get there a moment too late. I'm not sure what they do. So, anyway, I intentionally do not take the 2 flags in the north on this map. Doesn't matter. Still, I end up taking 2 flags on the southern map. 2 victory locations, and 1 in the south on this map, on this front with First Corps, and battle's over. Just when I was getting ready to bring in all my artillery and have a good time. The only downside that I could see was his artillery was really deadly. And I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to deal with that, because I couldn't press the attack and drive him out of his fortifications. I was going to have to stand and just exchange shots with him at range. And I wasn't having any luck spotting his artillery, as you're going to see. It was very, very difficult to spot his artillery. Yeah, I didn't think that was even close. There's a moment in this next phase that is close, I think. I moved some units around here. I move, the Iron Brigade took some hits. I can get them back up to 1,700 to withdraw recruits. I don't know. I think what I decided to do is just move him out. I want these guys to be 1,800 for Fort Stevens. That's why I'm taking these guys back up. I think I moved the Iron Brigade out. I think I decided not even to bother. But that's fine. I have units to move up to take the place of any units that aren't going to go to Fort. I just want a really good corps to go to Fort Stevens. So yeah, I'm just showing you I moved the Iron Brigade to 4th Division, which is fine, and I think I move him out of 1st Corps altogether for Fort Stevens. Anyway, I was a little bit uncertain what I was going to do. Let's see, I end up moving some units around and moving some different artillery in, I think, to 1st Corps too. And you can do that in camp. And here's the next group. There is a section in this battle where the enemy does actually cause one of my units to freeze in place. It's like flashing white, but the unit won't retreat and won't recover, which is the only part of the battle that looks intense. The other thing that happened is, and I decided to just play it, is I wanted some infantry to come over the victory location in the north. I wanted 1 or 2 infantry units over there. 3 artillery units came in. So if he had charged straight north, that would have been a disaster, which is why I'm moving everybody forward instead of just sitting back on the hilltop. I'm moving forward to catch his attention and get him to attack my infantry and not attack my artillery. So my hope is that my artillery will just sit on his flank and blast away at him and not get attacked by his infantry, because that's going to be a disaster. And all I'm sending over to help my artillery is just a detached skirmisher. So yeah, but this goes well, except for my unit that gets into morale shock. That does not go well, and he stays morale shocked through the battle. But we get out of this phase, and my point is, once you get out of this phase, which I didn't consider terribly close, once you get out of the last phase and this phase, I think you get another camp right away. So you get a camp phase between each one of them. And then after that, it's pretty easy. And I'm just trying to figure out how to kill as many of the enemy as possible, trying to spot his artillery, trying to kill his men, trying to kill his units. Mostly I'm on an artillery hunt, and I'm leaving all of the footage in this video, mainly so the next time I play this, I can study the, like I said, there are a bunch of phases. It feels like there are 15 phases. Study the different phases and how to organize things to get a better result than I got this time, and hopefully I'll figure out how to drag the battle out as long as possible. Here's takeaway, if you're thinking about this. If you go after the enemy in phase 3, which is the one right after this, and you take 2 victory locations, which is pretty easy, the enemy army is tiny, and it's easy to take the 2 victory locations and end the battle. It's either like phase 3 or phase 4, and it's easy to end the battle. In that case, you're only going to have a total of 6 divisions total come onto the battlefield. Your army is going to have 6 divisions total that are going to show up and fight. It's to your advantage, if you're going to do that, to not fill out anything other than 6 divisions, which is really easy. Keep everything else as small as possible so that you're scaled down for the side battles that happen after this. If you're planning on fighting, I forget what phase it is, but it's somewhere the 2nd or 3rd day, the rest of his army shows up, and he goes up to 80,000 in this case on Legendary. So he gets a huge reinforcement of men. And if you're going to do that, then you have 5 corps that come into the battle. So you have to decide ahead of time, am I going to end this quick, which is what most people do, or drag this out, let him get his reinforcements and fight a grand battle. I think the downside of that is, I don't know how you don't take, even on Legendary, you don't take 2 victory locations from the enemy. Even when he has 70,000 men, he can't stop my army from just going forward and taking victory locations. And I think it appears you only need 2, and it's over. So, yeah, I may have done the worst of all possible worlds and scaled up my units to very large size in 5 corps, which is just going to drive up scaling in Harrison's and Georgia Railroad. You can see the unit that is flashing white. That guy is, it's going to be a problem. I really just want him to retreat. I think about moving my commander out of there so he actually routes. Yeah, that's a problem. So, other than that, though, this is pretty straightforward. Hold the flag. I expect him to attack in the south. I thought about moving the 2 units in the south north, but my calculation was I didn't need them. The units that were in the north I figured could hold, and if that unit hadn't gotten morale shocked, it would have been easier. I'm actually counterattacking, if you'll notice at this point. My 3 artillery are safe. He's in the open. At this point, it's just roll the artillery forward and inflict casualties on the enemy, except for that guy who's still morale shocked. So I'm moving an infantry unit in front of the morale shocked unit to give him a chance to recover. I think he actually does. I have the guys in the south because I know he'll attack in the south. I want him to attack in the south, attack my nice fortified positions there. If you're concerned about holding this line, you can always just move them north, because all you have to do is hold these 2 flags. But I want this to happen. I want him to attack in the south. These are good fortified positions. I have a detached skirmisher to make sure he doesn't break through and doesn't route in the wrong direction. I can always abandon these 2 positions, but I would much rather have him charge into the open and my unit just get easy kills. Yeah, and at this point, this is just easy kills. Detached skirmishers firing downhill. He's in the open. I'm in good cover. My guy in the fortified position is doing fine. My artillery, I only have 30 minutes, but I'd like to move my artillery up. And yeah, it's all going fine. Eventually, I'll spot one of his guns. My 20-pound Parrot will have something constructive to do. One of my detached skirmishers got a little undersized, so I had him fall back. I'm going to have him merge back into the parent unit in a moment. So, yeah, this is the initial phase where the enemy puts up the greatest amount of danger to you, and it's not that threatening. I'm just okay, where do I need to place my units to get as many kills as possible? So, okay, after this phase, which is over in 24 minutes, the rest of the battle is, yeah, like I said, me looking for his artillery to kill it, and pounding on any of his infantry that I can see. He becomes a whole lot more passive at a certain point where he just hides. I try to get some of my cav comes in. I have 3 melee cav units that are really, they're 750 and they just need something to kill, and they don't come into the battle because I have them in 3rd Division of 5th Corps, which is too bad. I would have loved to have turned those guys loose. So I do get to take my rifle cav into battle and get to beat up on them a little bit, but unfortunately I think they take a flag, which may have been the thing that ended the battle. I'm not sure. I still don't know what actually ends this thing. So, yeah, usually I say just don't take the flag and you can get more time. I don't know how to get day 3 yet. I haven't figured it out. Guess I'll have to wait till next time I play the Union campaign and try a different idea, and we'll see how it goes. So, again, you get these reinforcements that don't get anywhere near where they need to be in time and don't do anything 12 minutes to go. So I will stop talking at this point. The rest of the video is here. I think it's over an hour of video, pretty much in camp. I'm just interested in keeping First Corps at full strength for Fort Stevens. Fort Stevens is a really fun battle this time, really interesting. I have to say that I have never liked Cold Harbor before. This is the first time I fought it where I enjoyed it, and I fought it several times, even on Major General. I never enjoyed this battle before. I have to say I did enjoy it this time, and I really, really enjoyed Fort Stevens, which I wasn't crazy about ever before. It was okay, but I really enjoyed it this time. And there's something, it's not just because it's more challenging. There was something else about the battle. It was just more fun. Not sure what it is, but I'm really thinking more about what I'm doing with my artillery and where my infantry is moving and good cover, and I'm just more engaged in the battle and trying to accomplish objectives, and it's just more, it's just more fun. This is the most fun I've had at Cold Harbor, mainly because I guess I'm trying new ideas and trying things. And yeah, as you can see, 2nd Corps did all this. Actually, it's like the first 2 divisions of 2nd Corps. Yeah, all this went fine. I'm going to move units around, I think. I don't think I actually take them back up to 1750. I think I just move units up. I think that's the key. I really saw Panderkraut do that well, and I think that's the key. Shuffle units around. Let units take losses and shuffle units around. Moving your fresher troops forward makes sense to me. And that way you get the biggest payoff for medicine. For 1st Corps, I'm not concerned about medicine as much as I am having my army at full strength for Fort Stevens. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about getting recovery from medicine. I'm willing to forego that in order to have units at full strength going to Fort Stevens. So yeah, give these guys orders, and here we go. I'm going to stop. I'm going to sign out now and let the battle play out, and I'll see you at Fort Stevens. Thanks for watching, and probably after you watch this, my guess is everyone's going to decide that they don't want to drag this out 3 days, that they want to get the early victory and get out of here, and I can understand that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.